Well, we have some brand new things from Hunkydory, and Heidi has had a great time creating with them. This is called Animal Antics. Now, it has 3 parts, and there are edge-to-edge foiled cardstock, which I will show you, the 8x8 papers, which are charming, and this whole collection that comes complete with a magazine. So many things to play with. In fact, here is one card that Heidi made, and this will give you kind of a preview of what these Animal Antics are all about. Won't you please come play with us? Well, before I get into Heidi's charming cards, let me show you what is in this collection. Now, to begin with, this is the magazine and the goodies that come with it. So you get an embossing folder with little dots on it that's really cute. You get a magazine that has 103 projects inside, and you're going to see just really fun ideas, great things to share with you. And then you also get these. This is Animal Antics. These are the toppers. So you get the die cut, the foiled die cut, you get the cardstock, and you get the foiled cardstock also. So here's one. Here is another, and the sets. There's that little squirrel, and some of them are just some fun patterns with the foiling and more foiling. And there is this one. Now, these are the ones that Heidi did not use, and more here. And then there's also some acetate that is printed. Let me see. The best way to show this to you is not that. Here, let me grab a piece of white. Okay, there you go. Now, these are die cut. They are foiled, as you can see. So there's some animals. There's another sheet that she has used, so that's unusual. And there's also some cutouts, and there's 2 sheets, and this is one, and this is some patterned paper that's included. So there's just lots and lots of stuff in here, which is just great. And so let me set that right here, and the embossing folder. And then there's also, let's see, this. So these are the edge-to-edge cardstock. This is foiled edge-to-edge, meaning it's edge-to-edge in the paper. And you're going to get 16 sheets, and what you get are 2 colors of each pattern. So there are 8 patterns. You're going to get the little footprints, you're going to get the zigzag, you're going to get the dots, as you can see. You're going to get these little triangles, and you're going to get the horizontal dots, and that also has 2 colors. And you're going to get the these dots in this color, and there's also a blue somewhere. And this is the kind of check in 2 colors. And there's also a flower. There you go, like this. So just add some fun extra charm now. So that's the edge to edge. Then we have the 8x8 papers. Now, these are double-sided, and let me just show you. You're going to get 4 of each one, over 295 elements. Well, that's perfect. And look at them. Isn't that just darling? So you get 4 sheets of this, as you can see, and then on the back side there is a pattern. So like this, and there's a pattern, and there's this, and cute, 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 just absolutely charming. And well done, you. Trots of love, handmade with love. Here we go. Little deer, pandas, all sorts of things. And the back sides are great too. So, you know, it's kind of a win-win all the way around. And more. And absolutely darling kitty. And you can see that there are quite a few. In fact, there's a couple more that I haven't shown you, and because Heidi's going to be using that one, and she's also going to be using this one. So just lots to share with you. So that's what's in that collection. So as you can see, everything is just absolutely charming. So won't you please, let's get into Heidi's collection, okay? Our first card is the one that I showed you in the introduction, and this is using the absolutely charming squirrel. And it comes from this sheet. So You can see that there are two, so this is an 8x8 sheet, so you can see that these are 4 inches. They're squares, 4-inch square. And then you got some smaller ones, and then kind of a narrow, tall one. So all of that, plus on the back of it. Now what Heidi's done is she's paired yellow things. So we've got the back of this. We have the edge-to-edge little flowers, so that's in there in the yellow tone. And then she also brought in the gold sparkles holographic, so you can see all of those are going to play very well together. To begin with, she took, now you get 4 of these sheets, so she took one and trimmed it to be a little bit smaller than her 6.5-inch by 5 card. So that became the base. And then she took the edge to edge and cut another piece and glued it. You can see it's right at the edge of the right-hand side of the card and at the base. So we've got these 2 pieces overlapping, and that's something that she's done several things here in the card. Now the next thing is to cut out our charming little squirrel and mat him onto the gold sparkles. And then he is glued in place just right there, kind of toward about, half an inch from the left-hand side of the card, because we want to leave room for some things happening over there. Now, not only is he glued there, but there's also a little bit of foam taping going on where she trimmed out this acorn and these acorns and foam taped them over here on the lower right-hand side. So the one's just over the acorn in the arch, and then these 2 are over here. Now, the little flowers, and I like how she has them kind of curling up. So that's a nice little piece. Those are also cut out of this piece, so that just works very nicely. And she's zotted them in place, or foam taped them in place. And then she's added a gold jewel dazzle. So you can see in the center of the flowers, that's where those are hiding. Then she has gone back to the sheet and cut out the Totally Nuts About You. Matted that on the gold foil, and then foam taped that. See, that's at an angle. So let me place the card straight, and you can see how that's just tipped. So that's been done. But then she went back to this piece and cut out another nuts from another sheet and foam taped that in place. So just really giving those nuts extra emphasis. Then she used the Hunkydory bow maker, which is just a wonderful tool, and the brown ribbon set, which I thought was a very great choice because it gives you good distinction. If she had put a yellow bow on here, I think it just would have disappeared. So the brown is nice. So making that wide bow, zotting it in place. So that took care of our card front. Now the inside of our card. So remember on this one, she had the yellow with the foiled on top. Here she's got the foiled on the bottom and the yellow on top. Again, the foil is going to just be a little bit smaller than the card itself. And then the yellow is a little bit smaller too. That has also been placed at an angle. Then she went back to her sheet, because right now she's used this piece and these 2, but she's going to use this one. Now that's going to leave you with some more pieces, so that's nice to know. This piece is going to get cut out and matted onto the gold holographic. It kind of gets twisted a little bit as it's glued in place, but then she went back and cut out the squirrel separately, and then this little branch with the flowers and the little acorn. Those are foam taped in place. And then she went around and got another Totally Nuts and glued it in place, and another little brown bow. So that finishes that card. Really charming, don't you think? Okay, we've got more charm coming up. And this is a card. I'm sorry I can't give you a name for this card, but I must be some kind of a stand-up card, because that's exactly what's going to happen. It will stand up. Well, they all will stand up, but this has a little extra leverage there. Now, this is a card that's 5 inches square. So she took her 5 by 6.5 inch card and simply trimmed it to be 5 by 5. The fold is at the top. And then she took a piece of white cardstock, or you could take another card, and cut a piece that's 5 inches by 3 inches. Now she needs to score that to make this little step. So she placed that piece into the adorable scoreboard and used the bone folder to go down 1 inch and then 2 inches. So you can see that here, 1 inch and then 2 inches. Then she's going to take the 1/2 inch wide extra sticky tape, and that is going to be applied here, and that will get attached to the inside of her card. We're going to cover that up with something later. And then this is going to get into a mountain fold, and it's going to be that piece right there. So very simple to do. Now, we're going to use this sheet, and we're going to be working with this, the bananas, and these 2 pieces, okay? So we're going to take this little guy, and on the back, that is the paper. So we're going to mat it on this paper. You can see it right there. And then Heidi, for some shine, brought in the gold metallic. And so she matted it on the gold metallic, as you can see. Now she also used this piece. This is part of the edge to edge. It's the little dots. You don't see the dots a whole lot. So it's up to you if you want to use that, or if you just want to use a green sheet again. Makes no difference. And we're going to mat that again. So that's the gold mat, the green mat, and the dark green mat. So that's going to work nicely. Now, when she did that, she also went back on the sheet, and let me show you, where she cut out the head, the Go Bananas, the banana, this is all one piece, as one piece, and then foam taped it in place. And then she cut out that head and foam taped it. So you've got a little dimension going on. I think you can see that. Okay, so a little bit of shine, a little dimension. Then on this, she took that green dot and cut a piece to go right across there, trimmed out each of these 2 as separate pieces, matted them on the gold, and foam tape them. Now you're only going to foam tape the bottom of them to go on the bottom of the card, and they're tipped just ever so slightly into each other. So very, very cute. Now we've got very yellow, very green on the front of our card, but look what happens on the inside. We get to pink and blue. Now for that, she used this floral in pink. Now you saw it in the first card in yellow, but now it's in pink. Remember, all of those come in 2 different colors. So that's the colors of this one. And she cut a piece to fit on the top of her card and on the bottom of her card. Now you want to be sure not to go over that score line. Leave that naked, as we say. And so glue those 2 pieces in place so they're covering it just perfectly. We're going to go here. And going back to the sheet, so we've used our monkeys. Now we're going to use the elephants and the giraffe on the inside. So I'm going to trim that out, going to mat it onto the gold metallic, and just turn it slightly going over to the left, okay? Now we're going to take our giraffe. Now our giraffe isn't going to fit because we've got more giraffe than we do card. So we're going to take him and just make sure how tall we want him. So I'm going to cut him out, and then mat just the top area, so the sides and the top, not the bottom, mat it on the gold, and then he's going to be glued, kind of tipping to the right a little bit. And that takes care of our card. So we've got, with the artwork, we've got It's Your Birthday, Go Bananas, Have a Chimply Great Day, and Hope Your Day is One to Remember. So just absolutely very cute. Okay, I have more. Of course I have more. Now, those were out of the 8x8 paper. Now we're going into what you get in that collection with the magazine. So that's fun. And one of the sheets is this one. And I love these stamps, and I love all of the art that you get in addition to a border. And you'll also get this sheet, which is a printed cardstock. And I thought it was very clever for Heidi to use this on the front of her card, because look, it gives you a fun border, and it also gives you this kind of check or area over here. So she simply trimmed this down to fit, and she started at the top of it and cut it to be slightly smaller than her 5 by 6.5 inch card. So that was very smart. Then she took the border and glued it going down her card, about 1/2 inch from the edge. And then she took Time to Celebrate, which is right here, foam taped that at the top. And then she used Sent with Love, which as you can see is right there, and foam taped that where those two pieces meet. So that was good. Now, she went into our kit with the magazine and pulled out the embossing folder. It's got all of those dots. And because she wanted to put a blue paper, and there isn't a solid paper here, so she went to At the Shore solid cardstock. Now these are 12 by 12, and you can see lots of teals and blues, greens, and so forth, many of which would have worked in this collection. Instead, she chose a blue and put the paper in the embossing folder, ran it through her die cutting machine, but then she did something else. Notice how you can see some of the white area? Well, let me show you. So I've already sanded part of this, but let me show you the area that I didn't sand. So this is the size that you're going to get, and that's, you know, you could cover a whole card with it. It would work perfectly. But what she chose to do was to expose the artwork. So all she did is laid this down, took our super sanding tool, which looks like this. You could also use sandpaper, and simply goes over it. It is the easiest thing to do in the world. And I'm really not pressing down on this. I'm just moving it across. So you can see that it's going to remove some of the paper, and that exposes the white core of the paper. It's very, very neat. So that works well. And she took that piece, trimmed it down to be, so it's 5 inches by, oh, I think it's 2 inches, but you can see that in the directions that are down below. Just click on the card, you'll see the directions. She matted it on some of the gold metallic. You can emboss that also if you want to, and Heidi did emboss it a little bit, so that's your choice. So matted that and then foam taped that, spanning the card, the 5 inches. The other thing that she did, and I think it's really cute, see this little elephant? Which I love elephants. And so she foam taped it and let it slide over the edge of the embossed piece. And then she took the penguins right there and let those extend over the top. So to do that, you're going to be foam taping it down, but then maybe a double layer underneath that area to support it. And then she foam taped Best Wishes. So I love this collage that she's done. She's just done a really nice job. Now, to give a little softness to it, she took our crepe ribbon collection. I love the crepe because you can make the bow and you can smash it and it's still going to look perfect. So that's nice. And she used the bow maker to do a light blue bow and dotted it as you can see it. Okay, let's go on the inside and see what the lady's done. Okay, so she used this piece, as you remember, on the front of her card. So on the inside, she's going to use this piece. So starting at the top, and she cut it the same size as her card. So that's really easy, but don't glue it down quite yet, okay? So what she did is she wanted to slip some pieces underneath that little stamped border. So she took the scissors, and my recommendation is start from the bottom and just go right along that edge. Let me bring it in so you can see. So just trim right along the edge. You're not going to go the whole way, but if you start at the bottom, it's just a lot easier to do. So you can use the small scissors and just do that, and then you can glue down the outside of it. So put glue on the outside edge of your card and put this piece in place. Then she took a brown piece and also used this embossing folder. So you can see that right there. Slipped it just under that cut edge. And then she took the great big kitty, there you go, and slipped that under also. And then the little cow, and Have the Best Day Ever. Those are foam taped, added another little crepe bow, and it is all done. And a nice use of that embossing folder. It's called a Dotty Dots. I think that's a good name. Now we're going to go to our last card, and this is different. And she's done some different things with it. So we had lots of color and things. Now all of a sudden we don't have as much color. Now this is using this other acetate. Remember I showed you the foiled acetate that was in with the magazine? Well, this is also a foiled acetate sheet. There you go. I think you can see the foiling. There you go. There's our cow. And these are gold foiling on one side, and they are silver on the other, so you have your choice. Now that's going to work with anything that doesn't have words, so best wishes and just to say, that's not going to work to turn those over, okay? So what she used, a couple of things. Now I did show you one of the papers that is in the, with the magazine, and she's going to use that. On the back side are all of these little stamps, but she chose to use this piece. Then she also used this. This is one of the foiled sheets, the edge to edge, so that one. And then she's going to use this sheet, but she's also going to use the green area. Now, because she's going to use the green and she's going to use two of these cutouts, my recommendation is that you cut these two pieces out first. That way you're not going to inadvertently cut into them. Does that make sense? So go ahead and trim out your cow and trim out, I just heard that it's your birthday. So both of those, then you can get started on your card. And the first step is to use these tent cards. These are the 5x7 Hunkydory cards. They are folded at the top, and they come in 10 envelopes and 10 cards. So that works nicely, and that's what Heidi has used. So she first took her yellow foiled check and cut it just a little bit smaller than a card and glued that down. Then, after cutting out these two pieces, she cut a piece that's about 2 inches wide and almost the whole 7 inches. So glued that in place. And then it looks like it's matted, doesn't it? But what she used was this. These are our straight line dazzles, and you can see that there are narrow strips and there are wider strips, but you get both of them on this sheet. So this is the gold. So obviously she used the wider ones on each side, and that gives us our yellow background and our green and our gold. So all of that is set. Now we're going to go to our cow. Now, as I said, the yellow that she used is on the back of this printed piece with all the stamps. So she's used this, and she took the cow and removed the circle. So they're just die cut, so you just pop them out. And place the circle on the yellow. Now, that's going to be hard to cut out, so she used Zots to attach that circle to the yellow. And then she just trimmed out around the outside edge. And that gave her her circle, and it gave her the edge all attached to it. Now, that worked perfectly for the edge, and then she's going to use the jewel dazzles to cover up the Zots. But we want to get the cow in there. So clever woman, and I've never seen this done before, she used a Zot on her forehead to hold her onto the yellow. Now, what do you want to do with the Zot? Well, let's cover it up with the gold jewel dazzles right there. So she's got a crown on her head. It works very nicely. Now, she did the same thing with this little duck, put a Zot, and you can see it's right behind that jewel, and attached it to the yellow and then cut around. Now this gets glued right here, just down flat, and she did add more of the small jewel dazzles right around the circle. The best wishes also has a Zot underneath the best. That way the best kind of covers it up, those words. Cut it out and double foam tape this, because this is foam taped also. So double foam, one on top of the other, and then two little Zots right there. Two little Zots, two little jewel dazzles right there. And then she went to the brown ribbon pack, which we used earlier, and made a bow and Zotted it just at an angle so as not to cover up our little ducky. Now for the inside of her card, here we go. So she went back to the same check that she used on the front, and this time it's covering the whole piece. But she did do another piece of green. Okay, and this is why we've got these two cut out, so they're ready to go, and glued it there and used the wide wide dazzles to go around the edge. And then on these two, so she's got them foam taped in place, but she used the narrow straight line dazzles around those two. So you can see, I think you can see that. Yeah, there you go. Then there's another little circle done the same way with a zot and a jewel dazzle, and then a small brown bow. So a nice collage, and that's exactly what she's created, is nice collage here. In fact, she's done that several places, hasn't she? And you can see how things overlap so that visually they are all one unit. But she's using an uneven number, which is exactly what you want to do. So that takes care of this. Now to recap, what do you get with all of this? Well, she has used the edge-to-edge foiled cardstock. She's used the 8x8 Animal Antics papers, and she's used that very robust collection of things that you're going to get, pick it all up, in with the magazine. So not only the magazine, and I think I flipped through this a little bit to show you, there's just lots of fun things, how to make shaker cards, how to do some other things, there's some templates, and then all of these that I showed you earlier, and the papers and the acetate and the printed papers and that very cute little embossing folder. So all of those. Now, all of these are sold separately, but we put them together in a money saver on the right-hand side of our screen. So if you'd like to save a little money, but you want to get all of them, that's the way to do it. If you are watching us on YouTube, we hope that you will like us. We hope you'll subscribe. Head on over to paperwishes.com. Take advantage of the money saver if you like. If you want to print out any of the instructions on the cards, they're down below. If you want to leave us a comment, you can do it on YouTube, or you can just scroll down, scroll. You have to scroll more, and then you can leave a comment. We're happy to hear what you have to say. And I want to thank you for joining us, whether YouTube or directly to Paper Wishes. And I want to thank Heidi for the wonderful job she's done. And thank you for being part of our Paper Wishes family. We'll see you next time.